All the communications between the shuttle and mission control indicated everything was going fine. There was a sense of relief that the much-delayed flight was finally underway.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today we're counting down the most gripping, inspiring, tragic, and dramatic events broadcast live on TV during the 1980s.
The Jeep carrying John Paul drew to within 18 inches of Askew, and the Pope extended his hand to the cameraman.
Number 10. Baby Jessica Rescue. In October 1987, the nation was riveted by a rescue operation that unfolded on live television when 18-month-old Jessica McClure fell into an 8-inch wide well in Midland, Texas.
And then with agonizing slowness, tried to cut through solid rock to the well that held the 18-month-old child.
Jessica had been playing in her aunt's backyard when she slipped into the narrow shaft. Over the next 58 hours, emergency crews and volunteers worked around the clock, employing a range of drilling techniques to excavate a parallel shaft and then burrow horizontally to reach her.
At about 5:40, what became the last assault began. The hole that earlier had allowed rescuers to touch Jessica had been enlarged enough to pull her out.
The operation involved advanced drilling technology and careful planning to avoid collapsing the well structure. Jessica was eventually lifted out alive, an event witnessed in real time by millions of viewers, highlighting a remarkable feat of rescue engineering.
It's a symbol that it could have taken my life, but it didn't. I got on my side that day.
Number 9. Whittier Narrows Earthquake. In the early morning hours of October 1st, 1987, Southern California was struck by the Whittier Narrows earthquake, a significant seismic event that reached a magnitude of 5.9.
Terrifying moments this morning. The ground shook violently in the Los Angeles area. When it finally stopped, the nation's second largest city had virtually been brought to its knees by the most powerful earthquake to hit there in 16 years.
Centered in the San Gabriel Valley, just southeast of Los Angeles, the quake caused widespread damage across the region, particularly in communities like Whittier, Pasadena, and Alhambra.
We saw virtually every building damaged in some way. There were signs down. There were boarded up windows everywhere. One big glass company has nothing but plywood out in front.
The earthquake resulted in 8 fatalities and inflicted injuries on hundreds, while also causing extensive property damage estimated at over $358 million. The live coverage provided viewers with immediate insights into the quake's impact, including damaged buildings and highways, which emphasized the urgent need for emergency responses and highlighted the region's vulnerability to seismic activities.
Though only a few freeways were closed because of damage here, highways in the whole LA basin were affected. They were empty. People apparently afraid to go out.
Number 8. The wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana. On July 29, 1981, the world witnessed the royal wedding of Prince Charles and Lady Diana Spencer, an event that epitomized a modern fairy tale and was broadcast live to a global audience estimated at 750 million people.
Who with great courage faces this day, not just with courage, but with relish and with enjoyment.
Held at St Paul's Cathedral in London, the ceremony attracted immense public and media attention, featuring guests from multiple royal families and dignitaries from around the world. Lady Diana's elaborate wedding dress, with its 25-foot train, became an iconic symbol of the day. The extensive coverage highlighted the grandeur of the event and the public's fascination with the British monarchy, marking it as one of the most watched broadcasts in television history.
And holding hands as well in it.
Number 7. Mount St Helens Eruption. On May 18, 1980, Mount St Helens erupted in Washington state, resulting in one of the most catastrophic volcanic events in the history of the United States.
That crater was blown out by a steam explosion. Lava has not yet made it to the surface. It seems very likely that this is actually a precursor to an eruption.
The eruption was preceded by a 2-month series of earthquakes and steam venting episodes, signaling imminent volcanic activity. The actual eruption began with a massive landslide in the volcano's north face, triggered by a 5.1 magnitude earthquake, leading to the exposure of the volcano's magma chamber and a colossal lateral blast.
Mount St. Helens finally blew this morning with a boom heard 150 miles away.
This explosion flattened vegetation and buildings over 230 square miles and hurled ash up to 80,000 feet into the air. Broadcast live, this dramatic natural disaster caused 57 deaths and extensive damage to property and the surrounding landscape, with ash dispersing across 11 U.S. states.
Prevailing winds blew the cloud in a northeasterly direction, plunging communities 60 miles away into complete darkness.
Number 6. San Francisco earthquake. The Loma Prieta earthquake, striking on October 17, 1989 with a magnitude of 6.9, became one of the most memorable disasters of the 1980s. Partially because it occurred just as the third game of the World Series was about to begin at San Francisco's Candlestick Park.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Power has been interrupted temporarily in the park.
The quake caused significant destruction across the Bay Area, particularly in San Francisco and Oakland. It was responsible for the collapse of the Cypress Street Viaduct in Oakland, where 42 people lost their lives, and the partial collapse of the San Francisco-Oakland Bay Bridge.
What about the Bay Bridge? What's wrong with it?
The upper deck appears to have collapsed during that earthquake.
Live television broadcasts captured the chaos, including the swaying of the bridge and the dust clouds enveloping the collapsed structures, highlighting the quake's devastating impact. The event hastened the retrofitting of infrastructure across California.
So many people felt helpless that night, no way of knowing where their loved ones were, whether their loved ones were even alive.
Number 5. Fall of the Berlin Wall. On November 9, 1989, one of the most significant events of the 20th century occurred as the Berlin Wall, a symbol of Cold War division, was effectively breached.
East Germany announced today it is opening its borders, allowing its citizens to go anywhere they wish. The future of the Berlin Wall is now up in the air.
After East Germany announced increased freedom of travel for its citizens, jubilant crowds from East and West Berlin converged on the wall, using hammers and picks to chip away at its concrete structure. The spontaneous and peaceful demolition was broadcast live, capturing the emotions and celebrations of Germans uniting after nearly 3 decades of separation.
This could be the first move to dismantling the Berlin Wall.
The fall of the wall marked the beginning of German reunification, which was formally completed less than a year later and symbolized the impending end of Soviet influence in Eastern Europe.
The question now is whether the breaches in the wall have whetted the appetites of people here, not for just a little more change, but a lot.
Number 4. Live Aid Concert. The Live Aid Concert, held on July 13, 1985, was a groundbreaking global music event designed to raise funds for the relief of famine-stricken Ethiopians. This dual-venue concert was held simultaneously at Wembley Stadium in London and John F. Kennedy Stadium in Philadelphia, featuring a star-studded lineup including Queen, U2, Led Zeppelin, Madonna, and many others. Broadcast live to an estimated global audience of 1.9 billion people across 150 countries, the event raised over $125 million for famine relief.
You coming back to me is against the odds, and that's what I've got to face.
The concerts are particularly remembered for their iconic performances and the remarkable live broadcast technology that connected audiences around the world, making it one of the largest scale television broadcasts of all time.
All we hear, Radio Gaga, Radio Boo-Boo, Radio Gaga.
Number 3. Assassination Attempt on President Ronald Reagan. On March 30th, 1981, the United States was shocked when President Ronald Reagan was shot by John Hinckley Jr. outside the Washington Hilton Hotel.
Not fired, rawhide is okay. Actually, we want to go to the emergency room of George Washington.
The assassination attempt also wounded Press Secretary James Brady, Secret Service agent Timothy McCarthy, and police officer Thomas Delahanty. Viewers watched as the chaotic scene unfolded, seeing Secret Service and law enforcement swiftly react to protect the president and subdue the assailant.
Hinckley, they say, wanted to kill the president and gain fame to impress actress Jodie Foster. They say he was obsessed with Foster and watched her movie Taxi Driver 15 times.
Reagan was quickly rushed to George Washington University Hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery. This event significantly influenced the Secret Service's protective procedures and had a profound impact on national television audiences, who had never before seen an assassination attempt unfold in real time.
The Secret Service relies on a perimeter system of protection. The outer is a preliminary check by local police. The middle has Secret Service agents searching for weapons.
And then there's the inner perimeter, and that's the final defense.
Number 2. Assassination attempt on Pope John Paul II. Just a few short months after the Reagan assassination attempt, another shocking event occurred when Pope John Paul II was critically wounded by a bullet in St. Peter's Square in Vatican City.
The Pope arrived to welcome the crowd of 10,000. After getting some preliminary shots, Askew moved into position for a closer view.
The attempt on the Pope's life occurred in full view of thousands of people gathered in the square and millions more watching live on television. As the Pope rode through the crowd in his open vehicle, Mehmet Ali Aja fired several shots, striking the Pope in the abdomen.
Askew stopped filming to receive the blessing, and a moment later, the shots rang out.
The immediate aftermath, including the swift response by Vatican security and bystanders to aid the Pope, was broadcast live. Pope John Paul II was rushed to the hospital, where he underwent emergency surgery, eventually making a full recovery.
Pope John Paul II said from his hospital bed that he forgave, quote-unquote, the brother who struck me.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Challenger Space Shuttle Disaster. On January 28, 1986, the Challenger Space Shuttle broke apart 73 seconds after liftoff, marking one of the most tragic incidents in the history of space exploration.
Challenger, go at throttle up. Challenger, go at throttle up.
It happened just over 1 minute into flight.
The disaster claimed the lives of all 7 crew members, including Krista McAuliffe, who would have been the first teacher in space. Millions of viewers witnessed the shuttle's explosion in disbelief and horror. The event led to an extensive investigation, revealing that the disaster was caused by the failure of an O-ring seal in its right solid rocket booster due to cold temperatures on the morning of the launch.
Then the bland, chilling report.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
The Challenger disaster brought about major changes in NASA's shuttle program operations and safety protocols, deeply affecting public trust in space missions.
The head of the Space Shuttle program had no explanations, just sorrow at the tragedy.
What other event could have made this list? Let us know in the comments.
People in Hollister, Watsonville, and Santa Cruz felt left to fend for themselves.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.